AFNER conference. It's the International Association of Functional Neurology Rehabilitation, down in Vegas this past weekend. And so I was just like, oh, well, let's just talk again about what functional neurology is, why it works, and why most people don't understand it. And people come back from like a neurologist and they're like, my neurologist couldn't find anything, and how come you found something? Well, it's because we're looking at the same system, but in different ways. Not that one's better than the other. Trust me, you got a brain bleed, don't come to me. Go to them, okay? But maybe we can catch some stuff before you'd actually need them with other different things like that. So, functional neurology. What we're looking at is kind of reverse engineering the nervous system. Okay, so this is the brain. When I drew it, you can't really see it, but here's the mouth, here's the nose, here's the eyes. So all of this is right inside the skull. Okay?
Side view.
Side view, like this. So this part right here ends up being right here. This is that bottom part that's coming out of the skull that turns into the spinal cord that goes down through the spine. Okay? Just so we have kind of like a reference of where we are in space. So, every different part of this brain and all these nerves that come off of it, and there's so much more that's deep on the inside that we don't really talk about because I don't really need to right now. I mean, we're not testing on it. We're not going to all those types of things. But we've got to get the gist. But every part of this brain does something different and specific. Okay? So if we have an issue going on in those areas, we try to reverse engineer it, give input back into that spot or into another spot that actually is working well to start to rehab that brain. The same way like, hey, we had knee surgery. We need to strengthen up the quads, we need to strengthen up the hamstrings, the calf. We can't just have surgery and then we're back to normal. We have to slowly rehab all the other parts around it so that the brain, or in that case the knee, gets back to normal. Okay? So, the brain. This is that pink mushy part that we all think about brain-wise. Okay? Separated into 4 lobes here. There's other ones, and there's different little sulci, which are the valleys, gyrus, which are the little bumps in it. But what we're looking at mainly is the frontal lobe, which is in charge of our executive function, so like decision making, choices, understanding a good consequence versus a bad consequence. I mean, it's not like right from wrong, it's just like, alright, well I'm going to do this. The good consequences, I get to sleep, or I eat good food. Bad consequence, I'm tired because I didn't go to sleep because I wanted to watch a movie all night or whatever. Okay? Parietal lobe, sensory system. Literally I feel like one of the most important parts of our brain because it's always getting input. From gravity, as our muscles are standing against gravity, the muscle spindles, those thin organs are sending signals up into that part of the brain, understanding where we are. It's how you understand the world around you, where you are in space, when other people are moving. Like when Kristen just walked out, her brain, or my brain has to go, okay, where's she going? Is that a threat? No, she's just walking away. And that type of stuff. Vision here, purely just vision. Can you see? Yes or no? And so we usually don't see too much with that one. And then this temporal lobe down here, we see a lot of memory and hearing issues in that one. Okay? On the inside, this H part is the hippocampus. So if you were to look straight on, it's kind of on the inside of that same part. So the hippocampus helps with the sleep-wake cycle, and it's the first part to be activated. Well, not so much activated, but acted upon by the stress response, so cortisol. Okay? So that's usually that part where people are like, oh, Alzheimer's. That part starts to really diminish, and it's on the inside of the temporal lobe, so when it's the temporal lobe demise, now memory, we don't know who's who or anything like that. So, now, once we get kind of underneath that brain, that pink mushy part that we all know, we get into this part. It kind of looks like a little bit of an ice cream cone. It's the autonomic nervous system. Okay? Just it's that automatic stuff that we don't think about. Pumps the blood, releases the enzymes, hormones, regulates everything, so we don't have to be like, oh, I forgot to pump my blood. That would not be much fun. Okay? So, it does it on its own. And this top part has a couple of nerves that come out of it. But the main thing it really does is it really fires off that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight. Okay? Fight or flight being you see a bear, you're going to run at it and fight it, or you're going to run away from it. Okay? It's all about survival. Okay? We get down into the pons. Okay? We have a bunch of nerves, 4 different nerves that come off the pons. Okay? But overall, it's doing rest and digest. Okay? Nice calming aspect, being able to digest our food, assimilate, turn it into our own tissues because we are what we eat. Okay? If we're not able to digest, Doesn't matter what we eat, something's always going to be wrong. Okay? Even if we're the healthiest person ever, we only eat fruits and vegetables. If we're in a fight or flight, we can't digest that food. Doesn't work well for us. Same thing in the medulla. 9, 10, 11, and 12 cranial nerves come off of that, but overall, rest and digest. And we'll go back and talk about each one of those cranial nerves, but overall, rest and digest. And this back part, this cerebellum, okay, that helps with like muscle tone just in general, okay, and coordination. Okay? Another thing that the cerebellum does is it helps to produce GABA, and GABA is one of the biggest neuroinhibitors in the body. Okay, so a neuroinhibitor. If we go straight to like physiology of what it is, we can look at here. So let's see. Oh man. So this line's at 0. Most everybody's resting potential is supposed to be at -70. Okay. When a nerve starts to fire off or depolarize or turns into use, that happens at -55. So we have this 15 or so difference between the two where we can kind of hang out before stuff just fires off. Okay? So what happens if we don't have enough GABA? Instead of being at a -50, or excuse me, -70 all the time, we might start off at a -60. Okay? Something like that. Now when a little stimulus comes in, like we feel like the wind blow on us, and you know how every time sometimes you're like, oh, there's a bug on me, but there's not a bug to be seen. It's because this threshold is here. A little bit of wind comes up. Once it gets to -70, it fires off 100%. Okay? But if our brain would have been normal at -70, and say it only went up 5, we would just jump up to a -65, and then it would turn back down and come back down and rest, and nothing would ever fire off. Okay? So these are the people that are super sensitive to pain, super sensitive to sound, super sensitive to like motion, highly oversensitive people. And not like emotional, but it does have a little bit to do with that one. But without the GABA, this -70 becomes a -60, becomes a -56, and every little thing fires off 100%. So that's why it's important to have the GABA. So we can make sure that we're at a -70, and the only things that need to fire off, fire off. Okay? So, getting into some of these cranial nerves, okay, because they do some cool things. So, anybody that deals with headaches, like constant headaches or